under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on our agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes of April 24, 2023. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of April 24, 2023. Is there any comment or questions? Seeing none, the chair will put that motion to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. That's 4-0-0. All right, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of May 8th, 2023. That was a special meeting right before town meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of May 8th, 2023. Is there any discussion or comment? Seeing none, the chair will put that motion to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The next item on our agenda is public participation. Is there anyone here tonight to speak on public participation other than an agenda item? Okay, I see none. So we're going to move right on, and the chair will entertain a motion to take an agenda item under new business, the senior fitness classes, out of order. Is there a motion?
So made.
It's been moved and seconded by Mr. Gaffney and seconded by Mr. Norton to take the senior fitness class item out of order. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, and that's also 4-0-0. So I'd like to welcome anyone who wants to speak this evening on the senior fitness classes item. Please come forward. Is there a microphone over there, Brendan?
Yeah. And there we go. That should pick up your voice.
Okay, thank you.
And we just ask that you identify yourself and tell us where you live.
Absolutely. Good evening.
Good evening.
Everyone. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think, is the green light on? I think.
Yep, it is.
Okay. Thank you for allowing us to present our concerns to you. My name is Paula Anton. I am a member of the fitness class from the Council on Aging, the senior fitness class from the Council on Aging. And this class has, about 40 members. We meet in the gym on Mondays and Wednesdays, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And this class has been in existence for over 22 years, with members ranging from age 60 to 88, maybe more. It is my understanding from Marge Yetman, the director of the Council on Aging, that for many years, the gym was automatically set aside for the senior citizen class for those 2 time slots. It is only in recent years that the COA has had to request the room every single season. And there have been way too many incidents where we have discovered that recreation programs have either been put in or around that time slot, creating conflicts with our classes. We have had to raise our voice to get something done, and that something has always been that the seniors have to change the time of their class to accommodate the recreation department. We're tired of not knowing when we're going to have the class or if we're going to have a class. And this summer session, our classes have been totally eliminated. There's a yoga class from 10 to 11 on Mondays, and from 9:45 to 10:45, there's a relax and roll class. I do want to pause and tell you that the recreation department does wonders for this town. And your programs are outstanding. And I listened in at YouTube at the last meeting where you were praising the recreation department for the numerous programs that they have. Unfortunately, it seems, they're so numerous that they have pushed out the senior citizens. Do you not think that the senior citizens of Burlington, who have helped build this town, who have contributed to this town for the past 30, 40, 50, 60 years, deserve a little consideration and respect? When these conflicts arise, we are told that we will have to wait and see how many people sign up for the classes. And if not enough people sign up, then we get the space. I would like to believe that that is said without thought and simply offered as a solution. But do you have any idea how that makes us feel? Nobody else wants it, you can have it. We are asking for 2 hours a week. Same time, same days, same place, because that is what has worked for the seniors for the past 22 years, and that is what has worked for the various instructors. And we haven't even talked about the instructor. When the times of these classes are changed, whether it's 15 minutes or half an hour or whatever, the instructor has to change her time too. She may not be able to do that. This isn't the only thing she does. And now with the summer classes being eliminated, she's out of job. If this time was blocked off in the past, why can it not be done again? Members of the Recreation Committee, you are elected officials of this town. We put our trust in you to do what is right and just for the citizens, for all the citizens of this town. And we do hope that you will consider permanently giving us, once more, the gym, Mondays and Wednesdays, 10 to 11 a.m., as being a fair and equitable treatment of your senior citizens. Thank you. I don't know what your agenda is here, but I'm sure there may be other people who want to say something.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Anton, for that presentation. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak on this item? Okay. Yes, ma'am, come on up.
I'll sit. Good evening. Hi, I'm Myrna Saltman. I'm a town meeting member of Precinct 2, and I've been a participant in this Monday, Wednesday exercise class with the phenomenal Judy for several years now. And she's a blessing to us. That's why we're all here. And we're all here because we're healthy. She keeps us healthy. No 2 classes are ever the same. She's the most creative mind walking around, and we love her. And we save the town money. That's the point I want to make. Because we're healthy, we don't need the ambulance to come to us. We don't need the fire department to come to us. We don't even need the wonderful services that the Council on Aging provides for people who do need them. And so, in essence, we're saving the town money. So I don't think it's too much of us to ask for you to reward us by letting us maintain and keep this healthy lifestyle. Furthermore, the ages, as was pointed out in the class, run from 60, the young man who exercises next to me, my oldest son is 60, and I'll be 86 in September. I mean, that's an age spread. And we have a wonderful time together. You have to come up and see what we do and how we do it. And I think it would make you better appreciate why we're here in these large numbers, to let you know that we're not going to give up this wonderful opportunity. And I realize that recreation has a huge, wonderful assortment of every kind of exercise you can think of, and programs, and the concerts, and you name it. And the town is blessed to have you people oversee it, especially Brendan and Kelly, excuse me. But we're a big part of that. And even though we don't fall under recreation per se, we're there to promote healthy lifestyle. And I think you should put that into the equation of why we need to keep this going. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before I turn it over to the board, anyone else want to make any comments or step forward? Okay, seeing none, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Director Egan for his input on the issue. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for coming out tonight and sharing your concerns with the class. I'm going to address a couple things, and I'm going to ask Kelly to address some as well, because she, as the former program supervisor, was on the ground floor with some of these items. I was around when the class started. I was a recreation supervisor in the early 2000s. I started in '99. And the class came about because we had a space where one of our programs was not running that season, and the Council on Aging requested the use of the gym at that time. We said, yes, you can have it this season. We don't have anything in there. Well, it grew, right? And now it was one class, and now I understand it was two. I don't know at what point that grew, if it was while I was still here, or at one point I had taken a job elsewhere. At that point it grew to two classes. But it was always, they requested the space prior to the season starting. We've always been on the same schedule. Our summer programs are July and August, end of June, July and August, and sometimes into the beginning of September. Our fall programs are end of September through December. Our winter programs are January through March, and our spring programs are April through June. And it was always known to request the space ahead of time. Knowing when our catalog hasn't changed in 50-something years that we've been in existence. And in all the time that I've been here, it's been that way. So I'm not sure where, that changed. I do recall in the last few years that as we have had a need to increase space, we've had requests for more programs, and we're trying to meet needs of the residents, all of the residents, that sometimes we have instructors that can only teach a class during a certain period, and I do know that it is overlapped by 15 minutes sometimes, or we've asked to have the class start 15 minutes later, even up to a half an hour, I think, on an occasion. So when that class gets canceled, it's not the recreation department canceling it. We try to work out the space. There's been times where we have requested space on the other side of the building, the Council on Aging portion of the building, for a small class in order to accommodate the large fitness class that you're talking about. So if we can move to a smaller space, then that exercise class can continue at the same time they always have. So it hasn't always worked out in our favor, which is why sometimes the class has been shifted by 15 minutes or a half an hour at the most. We understand habits, right, in that time frame works for classes. We have 2 rooms in our building that we can program in, and when all the other space is filled up, we try to work around what we know that the Council on Aging usually requests. It doesn't always work out that way, so that's why there's had to be some changes in timing. We do offer other fitness classes, and I understand that this particular class really enjoys Judy and what she brings to the class each week. But we do offer other fitness classes for seniors, and the 2 classes that are offered through the Council on Aging are also free. Our classes we would have to charge, so there would be a fee. There's a bunch of different dynamics. I don't know what happened, and Kelly, maybe you could speak to this more, why the class wasn't offered this summer. I know we're crunched for space as well, and can you?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks,
so the summer in particular has always been an issue ever since I started here 15 years ago. Trying to fit everybody into a space within the summer months is very hard. I know that when Mary Nelson was here and we would talk about how we could fit everything in the summer. The senior class has always moved to 9:30 to 10:30 in the summer. I know that we have done that on multiple occasions to be able to accommodate everything else we have to accommodate within the summer timeframe, within the two spaces that we have in the building for us to be able to use for programming. I think that's an important point specifically in the summer because we are catering to all facets of the community, and it's not to say that one doesn't deserve a space or one deserves it more. That's not it. We try to fit all of the puzzle pieces together to make sure that we can utilize the space as thoughtful as we can. And we do that on a quarterly basis when we build our catalog of programming. And as Brendan said, we've worked with the mall, we work with Third Ave, we work with Town Hall to use Grandview, we work with the Council on Aging to use spaces over there. We try to utilize whatever possible space we can. And we are cognizant of classes that have or typically been held within spaces. But unfortunately, in the last several years, we've gotten several requests for additional programs. And that's, I think, where some of the conflict might be starting to come more to the forefront.
So what's happening is we're tasked with running programs for residents of all ages. The Council on Aging has these two classes that they're offering. So that's space taken away from us, but there's no space that we can move to on the other side of the building to accommodate some of our classes. So then it would mean we don't operate classes. And as Kelly alluded to, our program staff has been very creative on trying to find other avenues and other venues to operate classes to cause as little disruption in the programs as possible, in what typically goes on there. We've had to move our own classes multiple times. We've moved them down to the function room in order to allow the specific class that you're talking about tonight to continue to operate in the gym. So we've moved things around as well. It's not always easy, we do our best. The only thing I'm not sure why this class was canceled this summer. It would have been moved by a time. Do you know off the top of your head?
I'm not confident, so I don't want to speak.
Okay,
on it.
so,
Sorry.
if we could work out, I think Marge did tell me that she offered a different time for the class. Has a space and a time.
She spoke to Judy about it.
Yeah,
I don't think it was not offered to us as well.
okay, yeah,
But as I've said, this isn't the only thing Judy does.
right.
I mean, she was hired for this time. And I know she has other clients and other jobs to go to. May I ask, these requests for other programs, where do they come from?
Our program staff does a review of programs periodically, a couple times a year, to see, what people are interested in adding. Our program staff goes out and searches across the country what is popular and what's moving this way, because as we know, stuff comes from the West Coast to the East Coast. They also, we try to program and make sure we're offering a good complement of programs for all ages, from toddlers all the way, you can't age out of any of our programs. So if there is an 88-year-old in the audience, there are programs that we have for everybody. So.
And do you not think that the seniors deserve a free program?
That isn't up to me. That's the Council on Aging offering it.
I know, but you're saying that we can come to your classes. Will you give them to us free?
We couldn't do that because we have to pay our instructors. I'm not sure how that operates. Does it operate on a grant?
I think so.
Possibly?
Yeah.
pushes us aside.
I don't think it has anything to do with the population or, it's the timing, right? It's the time of the
Just
program.
block those 2 hours off. Don't offer other programs in those 2 hours.
Exactly.
That's all.
I was an activities director for almost 20 years. And in one of the places where I worked, there was another faction. And I could not schedule anything from 11 to 12 every day. There was something else going on. That's the way it was. And it was an important thing. And it's just accepted. So you block, so 11 to 12 every day for me was blocked off. As Sandy said, I don't understand why that can't be done.
Okay, well, at this point, I'm going to ask the members of the commission if they have any questions or comments on the subject. Does anybody want to make any comments or questions? Mr. Gaffney?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess my question was mirroring one from the audience. There was a discussion from our staff that said the new programs that are coming in, and I guess my question was the same. What specifically are those new programs that came in to bump them, and who is requesting them?
What
You said you-
specific, like, I don't know that I'm gonna be able to give you exactly every single program that's come in. What they're talking about in regard to instructor availability and what needs to happen as far as, like, our instructors too work several jobs. They work at our rec department, they work at private clubs, they work at other rec departments. So fitting into their schedule sometimes becomes a problem. I can tell you, we had a Pilates class that was within conflict. We moved it to the function room until it built up to the point where it wouldn't fit in the function room anymore, and then we moved it to the gym because it needed the extra space. I believe we asked for 15 minutes on that end. I am also thinking of, there was a basketball program at one point that came in. We can't play basketball anywhere else other than the gym. So unfortunately, that was also a conflict. I mean, it's use of space and the type of space and how we use it also comes into play. So we're talking instructor schedules, we're talking about the limited 2 spaces that we have to program, and then the type of space and what activities we can put and fit in each space so that they're appropriate for all ages, all demographics, whatever it might be, right? Putting the program schedule, as we've all talked about tonight, we offer 150 programs a season, 150 unique programs a season. Trying to fit them into the 2 spaces that we have is an extremely difficult process. When we look at how we might be able to manipulate, as sometimes we ask this class to move 15 minutes, there are times we ask other people to move a half an hour, 15 minutes to be able to accommodate this class. I know that it seems like right now this is a problem, but this has been continually a problem on our side of the department, trying to figure out how we fit everything and include that 10 to 11 time block since I started here 15 years ago. This has been a topic of conversation as far as our program staff is concerned. It limits what we're able to put in the gym, knowing that, sure, we might be able to get a preschool basketball program, for example. I'm not saying this is happening. I'm not saying that it has happened. Like, I'm just using it as an example. Putting a preschool basketball. We know that preschool programming specifically is an area of deficit for us. We are looking to build culture-based, preschool-based programming. That time might be the only time we have an instructor available to do so, right? We try at all costs not to get into the 10 to 11. We negotiate as often as we can, as far as we can, and then our last stop is going to the Council on Aging and saying, we have tried every option. Is there any way you could move this class by 15 minutes? Could you move it by half an hour? Could we come in a little later? Oftentimes when we're scheduling on our side, because we know the demographic of maybe all of our fitness programs, we account for a 15-minute interval between classes. With this class, we don't do that because we want to make sure we can get them in their time frame exactly. So if we're ending right at 10 o'clock and they're starting right at 10 o'clock, like, we try to push the boundaries to make sure that we're able to accommodate everybody. But it is a puzzle. It's a puzzle that in the summertime doubles, right? We do 200 unique programs in the summer. Yes, we're able to use outside, and like I said, we've been working with the mall and Third Ave to be able to find additional space. But the space issue for us is a bigger problem than yes, this is a space issue, but we also have other space issues with our programs and not being able to run what we want to run or what the community is asking for because we just don't have the space to do so. So yes, this is a problem. I think it's a bigger scale problem than what necessarily the topic is tonight, but what it comes down to is space. I know that the town has been very good about giving us Grandview Farm when we've asked, as long as it's during the week. They're usually very good at giving us some additional space there. And we utilize it so much. I can't speak to how often the program staff is in meetings talking about, okay, here's the conflict report, here's where everything is gonna conflict, because we have to do that probably 3 to 5 days before the brochure goes out so that we make sure that there aren't conflicts and there aren't things that are going on. And the program staff probably spends a good 5 to 10 hours on the conflict report alone, trying to figure out where we might be able to move things, where we're not going to have another conflict. And now that we can close the function room door, it's amazing. But before that, it was even harder. So conflicts are a concern, I guess, bottom line. Sorry, that was long-winded.
So I can try to work with the Council on Aging Director to see if, what the issue is for this summer, see if there's another space that can be used by one of our groups. The same issues that this group has as far as timing for instructors and things, again, as Kelly said, we have those same issues. We are tasked with operating programs. That's one of our big mission statement items, operating them not at a loss as well. So, being able to operate a class with the correct amount of numbers, and as Kelly mentioned, we've shifted our programs around in order to not conflict, and then as they continue to grow, we need to be able to make sure they continue to operate because they too are popular. So I can work with the Council on Aging Director on the timing, and I think she had mentioned to me that she did offer another space at a different time, and I don't know, it doesn't sound like that was passed on to the group, or if it was, it wasn't a good time for everybody.
8:30 to 9:30. Yeah, and that doesn't work for seniors. 8:30 to 9:30 does not. Yeah, that's right. May I ask you,
Chair, sorry.
Kelly had said that, you have 150 programs. If you had 148 programs, are you going to be operating at a loss?
Well, it's the individual program we have minimums and maximums.
And
Ma'am, if you're going to speak, would you mind coming up to the table, please, and speak into the microphone?
I know I have taken recreation classes in the past, and there have been several times when there were not enough people and the class was canceled. And the class would come up again in the next session, and there would not be enough people, and the class was canceled. So I guess I'm asking, why do you continue to offer that class when it appears obvious that there's not enough interest?
And Kelly can speak to this more, but we try to offer everything 2 to 3 times. 3 times to build that audience, right? Because we could offer something once, and it just may not be convenient for a group of people that want to take it, and it doesn't, so we try to give it 3 times, is our rule of thumb.
And also, Kelly was speaking about the number of people in the classes, et cetera. Our class of 40 people waits outside the gym on Wednesday mornings for the class that is in there from 9 to 10 that has 4 people. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Do you-
Okay, moving back to the commission, anybody else have any questions? Lindsay, did you have anything?
I just had 2 more comments. if I may,
Okay,
Mr.
you still have the
Chairman.
floor,
Yeah, so what I'd like to do is to take a look at the Grandview Farm, again, a great, am I still on your question? That's a great venue, and I'm trying to think of how often the town itself would use that, whether it's for this group or for groups to move into that one. It just seems like that's a great resource right next to the recreation and the senior center. And then the other question,
Bill,
yes.
Excuse,
Oh, I'm sorry. So my question was with regard to Grandview Farm and the amount of time that's being used by the town, and who needs to get permission to do that? Is there something that can work out that way? I'll just leave the question at that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you.
So as far as the Grandview, I'm not sure what was explored by the Council on Aging for additional space. I've had conversations in the past with both Marge and the town administrator about utilizing that more for programs for both of our departments. And I know they do rent it for meetings and seminars. Departments use it for meetings if they're having outside groups come in. So again, that would be one in advance to book it as far as possible in advance, but they have let us use it in the past.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So, Mr. Chairman, so I ask you, so I completely understand you guys have been doing the class for 20 years at the same time. So I would look at a common sense approach. What if we can work it out? If we can work it out, could you guys change your times at all? If we get your instructor, Judy, is she here, by the way? Your instructor?
Hang on,
Okay,
wait a minute.
so-
Dave, he has the floor, ma'am, why don't you wait
So I
your turn?
just, I think we could work this out if we can all just work together. You might not be able to exactly have Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m., just based on how, on our end, on the recreation side. Look, the world's changing with kids, and everything's in the last, from 20 years to now. And you guys all know everything's changing, how the workforce works, how people's lifestyles work. And you senior citizens, we have to adapt to what's going on with the community, not only for you guys. And I understand that it is a free program that Council on Aging does give you, which is awesome. And I think you do deserve that. But I think we can work out a space. It might not be the gym perfect that it's been all the time, but like if we work the Grandview Farm, let's look into it a little bit more.
yes.
Wait a minute, ma'am. I'm going to recognize one more person, please. We've been going for 35 minutes. Who would like to speak last on behalf of the group? Ma'am, come on up.
I guess
Could you say your name, please?
my first name is Bick, B-I-K. I guess one of the reasons why we want to have a Monday and Wednesday at 10 is because there's another class, Sophia. She also run a class at in the COA, Monday, Wednesday, the same time. So that way we can break up with the student. So altogether, we probably have a 60, 70. So for example, on a Friday, it's no Judy, it's just Sophia. So, on the Friday class, there will be 60 people in that class. So that's why we want to have the same time, so we can break it up, not so many students, not so crowded.
Okay,
That's one of the
thank
reasons.
you for that explanation.
The other thing I want to mention that with all the respect with the recreation center, give the program for the senior, but as for us, we live on a fixed income. So as of now, we try to get by. So it's very difficult financially put out teach another amount of money. That's why this program is so attractive to the senior, for the from the COA.
Thank you. Brendan, have you looked into the possibility of the gym at the Memorial School? Is that available at all in the summer?
In the summer, they run a summer program there.
Yeah.
So that isn't, but I did, and we utilize some of the other schools in their gyms. So, we spread out as well in the summer that, we have our largest concentration of participants in programs with schools out, people taking classes, parents that are at home, put their kids in a program and also attend programs, so that our numbers really swell in the summer, which has probably led to some, issues with timing for the summer program, as we have more, for the summer fitness class that they're referring to. So, but I have a couple ideas that I can work with the Council on Aging on, whether it's Marge or someone else, and see how it can work out for this summer.
Okay.
But looking at a more concrete plan, during the year, we can't use a school because they're in session. They don't look kindly on strangers coming into the building and utilizing their space. So, we have to be more creative.
Okay, well, I agree with Mr. Gaffney. If we could explore the Grandview Farm option, that might be work. I don't think there are that many meetings going on between 10 and 11. Most of them are probably later on in the day. It's a nice facility, so perhaps that might be a worthwhile option. And the COA has to get involved in this too. It's not just a recreation problem, it's a COA problem. It's their program and they need space, and we're trying to see if we can accommodate that need to the best of our ability without jeopardizing the other programs that we have an obligation to run. So I think if we work together, maybe we can get some additional space options out there. And, we don't talk about individuals normally at a public meeting. That's just not allowed. But I understand, my wife drives all the way to Danvers to take an exercise class because that's where her trainer went after COVID started. So there are certain individuals that you like to work out with. So we understand that. And hopefully we can try to come up with a solution that meets everybody's needs. So we'll try. We can't promise you anything, but we're going to try.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, one last comment, and then we have to move on.
Before we leave, could you please be so kind as to introduce yourself by name and let us know how long you've been serving on the Recreation Commission?
Sure, we'll go right down the line. David?
Dave Norton, I've been a Recreation Commissioner for 6 years.
And my name's Steve Nelson. I was on the school committee for 24 years, and I've been on the Recreation Commission for 3 years.
Hi, my name's Bill Gaffney. I'm the planning board representative. I've been on planning board for probably 12 years, and Paul Raymond was in the seat. If you know Paul, he stepped down in the last 2 years.
Lindsay Carlson, I've been on the commission for 2 months.
Okay, we have a lot on our agenda this evening, so we're going to move on to our next item. We want to thank you for showing up tonight. We always welcome public participation, and anytime you want to come before us, we're happy to have you with us. So thank you all very much for coming out tonight.
Just one question. When will we have a resolution on where we can go, when?
Well, our director's going to look into it. It'll probably be on our agenda for our meeting at the end of June. So the director will be giving us an update at that point in time.
And the summer program begins beginning of July.
Probably, yes.
Okay, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to move on right now. The next item on our agenda this evening is Director's Report. Director Egan.
All right, thank you. First item, the Wildwood Park Sunshade, as part of our FY22 warrant request, we were approved for a shade structure to cover the large play area at Wildwood, the large piece of equipment. So while we were working on that project at the time, the vendor informed us there had been a significant 40% increase in the price of materials. So we reopened that, looking at it again, had the vendor come out. We got creative and tried to look at different ways that we could cover the area and, possibly, the prices have come down since supply chain isn't that magic word anymore as much. So we are looking to move forward with this project and hope to be able to go out to bid later this summer. I think we can, under the current plan that we have, purchase the materials. The installation is a big one because they are reinforced footings, so rebar and concrete. It's not something our staff can handle. It is a contractor thing. So that's kind of the unknown. We know the price of the material now, but the unknown of how those bids are going to come in. So it would be a project we'd undertake probably in September. The shade structure will go up from April, end of April, when weather gets decent, sun starts getting higher in the sky, through September. It will come down in the winter because it's not as high and not as warm on the equipment. So we'll keep you informed of that. I have a couple of items for Simons Park. The pickleball courts, couldn't get through a meeting without talking pickleball. So as you're aware, we had a warrant article at town meeting for the renovation of the street hockey court in order to swap the pickleball courts and street hockey courts. I've had some initial conversations with vendors on the current cost to resurface both courts. So we'd put the pickleball courts up above on the street hockey and then move all the panels and everything up and then go down and repaint the lower court to street hockey. And they are favorable, so we will be moving forward with those this summer. That's another project that there's a lot of things that go on at Simons Park during the summer. We have a major program there, so it would be after the summer months. We hope that will help ease any issues up there with noise. Basketball court project, which you've probably seen on our social media, but the basketball court has been painted a couple weeks ago, and even before it was fully open, it was in play, even though we asked people not to play on it. But we're glad they're enjoying it. They look great. They really do. We're excited to have two more quality courts in Burlington for our participants to play on. I've gotten some phone calls on it, on how nice it is. I know we've gotten positive feedback from the public, so we thank town meeting for approving that project.
Chairman, on that note,
Yes.
I remember we talked about this and approved it. The planning board's input was to do something about the porta potty there. It's a bit of a beat up fence currently, I think just even on one side. So actually when you go down Bedford Street, it's pretty much front and center right next to the courts. And I think we talked maybe about putting some trees up or doing something with regard to that in the same project.
We can look at replacing that piece of fence there. We don't want to completely fence it in with tall fence just because of issues that can arise.
Understood.
But we can look at replacing that piece of fence. So.
Thank you.
The next item, staying at Simons Park, Eversource currently has a grant to cover the cost of infrastructure for EV charging stations, and we're working with DPW to possibly locate a spot at Simons Park. We will be meeting with representatives from Eversource and the Department of Public Works in early June to identify a potential location. Obviously, it would be in the upper parking lot. Where it's located will be, important, because if we're talking about a future playground there, and in that stretch there is electrical, so, how does that work? Will that affect our future playground area? Can we make it work around it? So those will all be considered as we meet with representatives from both. Moving away from Simons Park, last year we had a capital request for a pickup. Finally got the pickup truck in. So it's a F-350 pickup truck and plow. This truck is the replacement for R1, which was an undersized Ford Ranger that had seen its better days. The floor was rusting out. There were electrical issues with it. So we did receive it, and it's now in service. I'd like to thank Central Maintenance for their help procuring the truck and getting it ready once it arrived. Something that wasn't in the report I sent you, but that I want to mention as well. So the Community Theater Group of Burlington, formerly the Burlington Players, that utilized the Playhouse up at Overlook Park. A few years back, we revised the agreement for the Community Theater Group of Burlington to use that building at Overlook Park. The agreement is for 2 years, and it can be renewed for 1 year, and then it has to go back out for a full, put it out and have them, the commission agree to a 2-year. So that has expired during COVID, so it was brought to my attention. We're looking to renew that agreement for a 2-year period, but before we do that, I have town council going through it, making sure we don't need to change anything from when it was done back in 2017, I think was the last time it was done, or when it was revised the last time. So once I hear back from town council, I hope to bring it to the commission in June. So we will be approving the agreement to utilize that space for another 2 years, which may work right into our time frame with the, if we're successful with the Land and Water Conservation grant, reimagining the whole site. But, I think they add to it with the cultural piece on the property. So, we'll see what town council says about the agreement. If there's no major changes, I think the players would really like to stay there. They have invested some money into the building, which is always nice. So I will I'll keep everyone up to speed on that and let everyone know at our next meeting. Our athletic fields. We have received some positive feedback from Burlington Youth Baseball on the fields this spring. The BBSA president, Brian Brothers, shared with me their pleasure with the condition of the fields this spring and said everything's been ready when they needed it. And he said he wanted to thank us for our work, and I shared that with our staff. And, we're thankful for their cooperation. Sometimes we can't get to every field after a rainstorm, so being able to be flexible and, reschedule some things is helpful when the leagues do that. While we're on the youth sports, Burlington Youth Soccer has been looking for some additional fields to use during the spring and fall seasons. So currently we've set up 2 9v9s up at Mary Cummings that run perpendicular to the parking lot. And then we also put an 11v11 straight across those. So we have the flexibility of 3 fields up there. 2 9v9s can be used at once, and then the 11v11 can be used by itself. So during our conversations, they've expressed an interest in contributing to our field maintenance program. I worked with our consultant from Tom Irwin on a plan for Mary Cummings. It has to be organic. That's part of our agreement with the city of Boston. So it really has a pretty decent stand of grass for having no irrigation up there. We are going to work on overseeding and fertilizing it so it stays pretty healthy, or it gets a little bit healthier. So the Youth Soccer Association has agreed to pick up the cost of that program for the year to the tune of about $20,000. So we're very thankful for them.
Do we mow that grass now?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. Yep. So obviously we had rain a couple weeks ago and we got behind. So the last 2 weeks last week they got everything caught up, which was nice. But yes, that happens. During the year, if we get a rainy week, we can't put heavy machines out on things. So we have to play a little catch up, and our guys did a nice job of doing that. So I'd just like to thank BYSA for working with us to continue to improve the condition of our athletic fields. They've been great to work with this year as well. While we're on Mary Cummings and youth soccer, During those same discussions, bless you, during those same discussions, in their use in the fall, they have used, in the past, they've used Marvin Field and set up some smaller soccer fields in the outfield, and we've been able to do lights. They did express an interest in some temporary lights at Mary Cummings for the fall. When it starts to get dark earlier, they can have more practices. The practices can go a little later than they generally do when the sun starts to set at, 6, and then 6:50, or, then 5:45 and gets earlier. So it allows them to spread out more and use more fields. So if the lights would be similar to what we use for the tree lighting in those ceremonies. They're the toe-in generator lights that pop up. You see them on the sides of highways too. They're not super high. They probably go 15 feet, and it would just illuminate the area so they could play a little longer, maybe 4 light stanchions up there. They would be towed on and then removed at the end of the season. If it's something that the commission would consider doing, we're obviously gonna have to get permission from the the city of Boston and trustees. So I wanted to start the process now, because before you know it, the
Okay,
fall will be here.
let's talk about it now. I think
Okay.
that's a good idea. Questions from the commission? Mr. Gaffney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So who would pay for the rental of the lights and the gas for that?
That would be youth soccer.
Okay, and you say it's in the fall, do you have any idea of when to when?
I would say September to the end of October. They usually wrap up the first week in November. So,
And would they not be using Marvin then? Because I remember my kids were using Marvin when they need the lights at that point. Would they not be using Marvin?
correct. At this point, they would not be using Marvin. We have a couple programs that go on Marvin and Rotary. So, again, it's an example of what we do earlier, right? We don't have enough space to go around, and we need lit space at night. The schools are utilizing the 2 turf fields that are lit up until 7:30, and then the youth sports get on. So we've moved some programs. We have a therapeutic rec program that goes on Marvin Field. We have an archery program down on Rotary Field. I think we have another one. Adult softball goes on Marvin Field. The Fun League goes until the end of September. So, moving around. It just gives youth soccer a little more flexibility. But they would be paying for that, and they did not show an interest in Marvin if they could have those fields.
In the high school, in the fall with soccer,
And field hockey and football.
I'm just thinking Marshall Simons with his.
So Marshall Simons, usually Pop Warner uses Marshall Simons in soccer. And I have been told that Pop Warner is going to have a Pop Warner team this year. They had an 8th grade middle school football team in the past, but not a Pop Warner. So they were practicing not every night of the week, because they just have one team. So, their schedule might be flexible too. They might be able to use, from 7:30 to 9, 3 nights a week, and it opens it up for other things.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's that puzzle every season that we have to redo.
Just one real
Mr.
quick.
Norton?
Mr. Chair, how many would be up there, and would they be permanently there for 2 months?
Yes, so I'm not sure how many, maybe 4, probably at the ends, so that they shined onto the field. And they wouldn't be doing, games. It would be practices, just so they could have
I know,
that
I
field
have no
space.
problem, just a little worried about like a vandalism type thing.
Yep.
because It's out of the way,
Right,
lights, they're not as high as how we have everywhere else, so I just want to make sure that if we approve this and it goes to the town, that, we have, insurance and all this type of stuff, so we don't get, it doesn't come back to haunt us.
right. I believe, the insurance would be, they may ask the Youth Soccer Association to make us as an additional insured, and it would fall under their insurance, especially if they were renting the lights
Yeah.
for the season.
I'm sure, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I can check into that.
Any other questions? Commissioner Carlson?
I guess my question is about, like, are these going to be on timers? Who's going to be actually managing these and making sure that they're not on late at night or that they're going on at a certain time?
It would be up to their league, so they have a field director, and it would be up to them to, turn them on every night and turn them off. They don't have timers because they're job site, basically, job site lights, so it would be up to them to start them. A lot of them are electric start now, so you don't have to pull, they do have the pull back up, but it's an electric start, and then they'll go on and shut off, and we could, if it's something that the commission wants to explore, and, we could set time limits too. Like, they have to be off by 9 o'clock or 8:45, whatever it is.
Quick question. Should we run this by town council where these are portable lights? Do we need permission from the city? Because it'll take forever to get permission from the city.
So I think, yeah, we can, what I was going to start with is the trustees of the reservation who oversee the property for the city. I think that the trustees probably have a quicker connection with the city than we would,
Yeah.
right? Because they're managing it on a daily basis, and.
Do they manage the licensed area that we have too?
No, that is up to us, but I'm hoping to use that route to get a quicker answer, but we'll work with town council. I'll check on, with her, and see if we can kind of get a quicker answer than we have on other things.
My other comment while we're talking about Mary Cummings, the rains that we had in May, they just did a number on the parking area up there. It's like riding on a railroad track. We might have to get Mr. Baker working on another.
Yes, so we'll have to get some more stone dust up there, and we may need a larger piece of equipment than what we have to really kind of fill in and compact it. So I will make note of that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just thinking about, we've had pickleball noise, we always have to bring that up, but I'm just gonna take a look at a little map here to see how close those might be to the houses down there, because if they run in with gas, those tend to be fairly loud.
Mm-hmm.
There's a house on the corner of South Bedford Street.
Yeah, there's a couple there across from Rotary Field.
There's some trees in between them.
That's why I had asked about what time
Yeah,
and
they
everything.
might generate, the generators will make a little noise.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If we could find electric lights,
I want to put
great,
towers up.
solar lights, I should say. Right?
Oh, well, we've discussed this, but the biggest part is being able to, we talked about putting lights up there before. I don't know if you brought it up, yeah, because
We have to revise the
you've
agreement.
tried to get in
Yeah.
touch with them. It's a never-ending process to deal with them. It's not on the top of their agenda,
Yeah, it's a shame.
obviously.
They never use it.
But it's a great piece of property that,
Okay. Now, are there any other questions up to this point in time on Brendan's report? All right, moving on to maintenance, metal detector.
Yes, just a couple items. Our maintenance staff has been working on a number of seasonal items this time of year, and they continue to line and groom fields, empty trash. They're cutting the athletic fields, parks, and town properties. They've started the process of opening the wading pool. They actually sent the water out today to be tested. That entailed, once they get it uncovered, cleaning it out, painting, and then they filled it with water. As I mentioned, the pool is scheduled to open June 17th, and they've also installed new soccer goals that Youth Soccer purchased up at Mary Cummings and at Fox Hill. And then as more seasonal staff come on board, we've been able to get caught up with the trimming and mowing, as I mentioned earlier. And then one item that we had outstanding was they installed the last of the communication boards that we had purchased last fall.
Yeah.
So that's up at Regan Park. They've repaired the kiosk at the dog park. Someone smashed the plexiglass, and they're working on graduation prep this week. They have some work that they're going to do at the farm, some landscaping out back, adding, getting rid of just really some mossy growth and adding some stone to make the area look nicer. So they're busy with that. And then my last item before new business is metal detecting. So it is brought to my attention that we have had an increase in metal detecting on town property. There have been individuals that have spent considerable amounts of time out on the town common, behind the center school, Simon's Park, and Park Superintendent Baker has informed me that the individuals replace the divots that are dug up, but many times the dug up grass doesn't take and creates dead spots and dried areas around the fields, and some of the divots get sucked up in the mower decks when they're cutting. There's no local bylaw that prohibits metal detecting. The only thing that on town property, the primary law governing that is, that I've been able to find is in the Massachusetts, the National Historic Preservation Act. And that basically forbids excavating any item that's suspected to be 10 years, or 100 years or older from the state land. So,
So you're saying I can dig a hole in town common, there wouldn't be any issue?
if you were metal, well, how big is the hole?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
If it was creating a safety hazard, I'm sure maybe the building,
It just seems
we
like
will come
it's-
out.
Seems like they, it's kind of maybe not in the bylaw, but maybe, it's some other, police laws say you're not, no one's allowed to dig on town property. Like, you have, paper streets, you're not supposed to do anything there. I think that
Right.
would fall into that, right?
Yeah,
You can't disturb town
Maybe we
property.
So-
can send a
so-
letter to the Board of Selectmen asking them to consider a local bylaw prohibiting that
Right.
on public property.
Do we have cameras to see who it is? If there's-
I've spoken with them before and, just ensured that they're covering up. When they cover up that day, you might not be able to tell, but if it doesn't take, if we don't get any rain for a little while, there's no irrigation on the field, then,
So how about, instead of saying you can do it, but cover up, say, listen, you can't do it, and then, and say we've just, if you're good with that, then we're good, otherwise, we'll just
Yeah.
have you be.
So, well, or we, as the Recreation Commission, if you wanted to put in a rule for the parks.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be a law, so police enforcing it could only point out to the sign, or if we went down, we'd only say there's no metal detecting
Yeah.
on property. If we wanted to make it a bylaw, it would have to go through bylaw committee. And I can talk with the town administrator about that and see the best way, if it's a letter to the select board, and then we would have to appear probably and,
Yeah, I think in other
discuss
towns you
it.
see signs, and I don't think they have bylaws from this, no golf, and go over to Reading, over near, where the gravel is a park, over near, was it Benedetto's, right there?
Yeah.
It's just no golfing, right, so you either put a sign, or you just advise them to say the Recreation Commission's decided, no.
So we worked on signs, redoing our signs a few years ago, in there, no motorized vehicles.
No golfing.
No golfing, things like that. So, they're not laws that the police can enforce. It would be, all they can do is point out, this is a Recreation Commission
Yeah.
rule for this property. So, we would like to put up all new signs. We had a plan, and then we got into COVID, right? And, so we could add that. I can have a discussion with the town administrator if it's something that he thinks that the select board would take up and go on all town property. And then it would, probably have to go be a bylaw and then voted on at town meeting, which is a great process, and we could do that. If we want to, make it a rule on just park and recreation, land, we can do
I
that.
think we should do both. Maybe put it on our agenda for our next meeting, the commission adopting a rule or a regulation prohibiting metal detecting
Okay,
on recreation property, because it's like going to a golf course, and you put the divots back, but they turn white, and then the course looks terrible. And I didn't realize that was happening, but
it seems
it's
to
not
be
like the beach,
seasonal
the
too.
sand just fills in,
Yeah.
We're spending a lot of money on the sod,
Mm-hmm.
and the sod improvement program, and to have it deface like that,
Yeah,
it's not right.
It tends to be after the winter when, people get out.
Sure.
And obviously metal detecting, some groups like to do athletic fields because kids out there playing are adults and change in their pockets,
Yeah.
Rolex watches, whatever you have. But
It's also a safety concern too, because if
Well, there is-
there's a hole, and, somebody could trip and fall. So I mean, it's not just, the aesthetics, but it's also the safety that we have to worry about here as well.
Yep.
So, Mr. Chair, we'd also have to get the school committee too, because it was school grounds. We got the selectmen for the town common, and then our parks. So the school committee would have to be on board.
We can nibble off our park stuff, we can just do that separately, right?
We can put the, well, if it's on our agenda, we can talk to Mr. Brooks next meeting.
Just for
Hopefully we
signage
can
and
make it,
stuff.
And ask him to bring it up with the schools.
we can grab some samples if there's other communities in the Commonwealth that have it, that we could see what they have for metal detecting.
Can we also just bring our signs?
Hmm?
Can we bring our signs that we did during COVID? Like 2 birds, 1 stone here.
Yeah, add it to the
Yes, we'll
news.
add the metal detectors, but can we also agree on all the other regulations on the signs so
Oh,
we can get
yes.
them ordered and put up?
Yeah, we'll put that on the agenda. I understand what you're saying now.
Yeah,
I
was
meant
like, I
bring
don't know
back
how else to
COVID
say it.
signs.
No, no, no.
Said, no, we don't want to do that. Yeah, so we had come up with what's on the sign and what should be on the sign, and they're standard for every park, playground, and facility. So we will bring that as well.
Okay.
So everyone can have a say, and then we'll add, if we want to add metal detecting on there as well. Okay,
Good idea, very good.
Thank you.
Are you done until we get to new business, Brendan?
I am.
Assistant
Thank you.
Director Lehman.
Thank you. Mine is much shorter. So, as you guys know, we did receive a grant from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Health and Human Services for our therapeutic recreation programming in the tune of $187,726. This money is dedicated to improving our therapeutic recreation offerings as they currently exist, and expanding on current offerings as well. And in addition to that, we have included some monies for developing a new program. Over the course of the grant cycle, which is 2 years, we are required to expend the money by March of 2025. So we're excited for that, and Emma is really hit the ground running, trying to look at a timeline for when we can start making those improvements. We cannot expend any money until July 1, so we're in the planning phase now. Like we have a general plan, but the specifics of it, getting a little more like fine detailed is what we're currently doing. So we're excited about that. We're always excited to grow our TR program, so this is going to be a much needed boost for that for those options. Staying on the TR track, Emma does have an intern for the summer. Their name is Shosh. Shosh Cohen is their last name. They go to Ithaca College. Their major is therapeutic recreation with a minor in deaf studies and dance. Shosh actually worked for us last summer as an inclusion support aide in all of our programs, so they're very familiar with what we offer. They were included in a number of different programs in the summer, so the learning curve for them is a little different than a typical intern, so that's been exciting. They're currently working with Emma doing intakes and assessments for summer so that participants can be placed in the appropriate settings. And they will be working throughout the summer and until the end of August with us. So we are excited to have them on board.
Thanks.
That's all I have.
Ithaca College is nationally renowned for physical therapy, going back probably 75 years. They were always one of the best colleges in the country if you were interested in physical therapy. Of course, now it's into a broader,
Yeah,
program with kids with disabilities, which is great.
it is great. Great.
Okay, I think that's it for your report, Ms. Lehman?
You're correct.
Okay. I get to make one final report, Chairman's report. Just a couple of things. I wanted to thank town meeting for approving our budget at the May town meeting and for also approving all of our warrant articles. I hate to mention the word pickleball. Brendan gets hives when we talk about that, but I think it passed by one vote.
It did.
One vote.
It did.
So fortunately, we have the funding for moving the pickleball court north, or northwest, whatever that might be, northeast, up to the top of the hill. People in the neighborhood have to be patient because it's not going to happen right away. As Brendan said, probably won't be finalized until September, I think you said?
I'm hoping to have construction started in September.
Okay, okay, so we're working. We're making progress. One other comment, on Sunday, I told this to Brendan this morning when we were talking. On Sunday, late afternoon, I drove by the new basketball courts at Simons Park. I think there was a 5-on-5 at 3 out of the 4 hoops and a 4-on-4 at the other one. The parking lot was mobbed, everybody was having a great time out there, and it was just heartwarming to see everybody finally enjoying, first-class basketball courts. So congratulations to everybody that was involved in the project, and with Brendan's leadership, we finally got that done, so that was great. And that's it. We're going to be reorganizing shortly. Are there any subcommittee reports tonight?
I don't have anything.
Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to commission reorganization. Want to pass this down to Brendan?
Oh,
Put that in front of you, Brendan.
all right. At this time, I'd like to ask for a nomination for, take any nominations for chair.
I'll nominate Mr. Norden.
Second.
Next chairman.
All right. We have, is there any discussion? We have a first and a second. Take a vote to install David Norden, Commissioner Norden, as the next chair of the Recreation Commission.
I'm in favor.
Okay, we have 4-0, 4-0-0. So that is, I'll end the meeting here and hand it over to Mr. Norden as the new chair.
Oh, boy.
Switch.
Even switching seats.
This sucks. I won't be as organized as you, I can tell you that right now. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you entrusting me with this chairman position. I'd first like, before we continue, to thank Steve for being chair, probably for the last 15 months. We've extended a little bit. You're excellent at it. Hopefully I can be as good as you were. I mean, your knowledge and how to run a meeting is awesome. So hopefully I can continue on to that. So thank you for everything you've done. I know it's a lot more work being chairman. I'm sure Brendan appreciated all the work that you've done.
Appreciate that.
And so thank you for that. With that said, I would put a motion forward for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Steve Nelson.
Thank you.
A second?
Second.
So I would nominate, we have a nomination of Steve Nelson for vice chair. Any discussion? We'll put it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
4-0-0. Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you,
You're vice chair. Thank you.
If I could just say one more thing, Dave, before, I should have said this a few minutes ago. I wanted to thank Brendan and Kelly, too, for helping me throughout the course of the year and doing a great job with the agendas and organizing the meetings and making my job easier, giving me heads up as to what's likely to be hot topics as we go through the year. And I'm sure you're going to get the same great assistance, Dave. And I welcome you on board as well as the chairman. I know you do a great job.
Thank you. So next we have subcommittee assignments, which we haven't done in a long time. We've had Commissioner Sullivan, who was on multiple boards, who's left the board, and we have Commissioner Carlson, who's new. Obviously, Commissioner Gaffney would be the planning board representative. And Jeremy would be the school committee representative, but we have some of these are still active, some are inactive, so we can go down the line and do we have to vote on these, Brendan? Or I think we just.
I think you appoint them, Dave. You're the
Oh, I appoint them?
chairperson. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So the first one up is BBSA. I don't even, so.
I don't know why, I'm not sure how that came up, but that's been on there, I think, for you ever remember it not being on there,
No.
BBSA, so.
Do we, I mean, should we assign, there's
I know
no
that-
one assigned to it.
I know that in the past, there were commissioners that were already on the board, so they would give reports from BBSA.
We don't have them for any other youth sports, so it
Correct.
might,
It could be, that could be the reason, I don't know.
yeah, and they connect with the office on a daily basis if they need things, so maybe we,
I know in the past, I've discussed, you know, when we had some issues with the fields and people were complaining, and I said, you know, I would go and meet with all these boards, and if they want to sit down with one of the commissioners, you know, I would do it. I mean, that's something that I could do, because, you know, if there is something where these associations, soccer, lacrosse, or any of them want to have a commissioner in on the meetings, I could appoint myself.
so, yeah, why don't we make it a youth sports
Youth sports.
subcommittee? So any of the youth sports, if they call the office and they say, you know, Brendan, Kelly, we don't like your answer, or who can we go to? We'll send them to you, Dave.
All right, let's take out BBSA, Dave. We're gonna make it youth sports.
Youth sports.
That'll be
Does
good.
anyone want to be on that? I mean, I would do it,
I invite you to do it.
so I'll do that one.
David?
Burlington Area Chamber of Commerce, is that you, Brendan?
Yeah, haven't been fully, you know, there hasn't been a lot of, I haven't participated, I'll just
Yeah.
say that, but I'm usually the contact if there is.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
they need it, yeah, okay. Community Preservation Act, the town just voted on that, it got defeated. Kevin Sullivan was on that before, I don't think we need, don't
I
know
would
how that-
recommend that we keep someone there, because if it comes back around again, we should be involved. It's something that would benefit our department.
I'll volunteer to do that one,
okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Gaffney will be community preservation. Dog Park was Kevin's earlier. Will they meet quarterly?
We would meet more often now, you know, now that we have a couple, where the project, or the park is built, we might meet once or twice a year. But it's always good to have someone on there if someone's an animal lover or just likes
Anyone want
dog
to-
park
do that, yeah.
conversation.
Commissioner Carlson, Dog Park. Human Service Center.
Boy, after today, I don't know if I want to volunteer.
I think
I-
Kevin was that before, I am not sure, though.
I don't mind being on. I went to school in that building, so I don't mind
Okay.
dating myself.
Commissioner Nelson. will be
We
for
had to
that.
walk over from the union school over to use the gym.
Yeah, I know it.
And the Union School is at the police station?
That is the police
Yeah.
station.
All right.
Maintenance building facility, obviously, I was on that whole project with Brendan, and, you know, obviously, we have a brand-new maintenance facility, so I don't think that's gonna be but I'll stay on as that, just
Do you want to make that like field maintenance?
field maintenance, yeah, I'll stay on
Then,
as that.
so it pulls in the maintenance, and then there's someone,
Field maintenance, okay.
Fits hand in hand with youth sports too.
yep.
The master plan,
I wouldn't mind sitting on that.
yeah, you'd be good for that,
Like to do
Steve,
that
I
one.
think.
Unless Bill
Commissioner-
wants to do it.
No, I'll take the next one.
Okay.
They actually there was an issue, I think, with Paul Raymond being the representative from here on
Oh,
the
with
master
that.
plan, because someone else was on the planning board representing that, and then they had two representatives on. I
got it.
remember that conversation,
Right,
so, not to
No, it makes
push
sense.
you away, but
Yeah.
just so we don't rehash an
Yeah.
old argument.
Is this our master plan? Because the town's done with theirs.
No, it was the town's. Yeah, it finally
We don't
was
need-
just
But
approved
this
at
would be
town
ours.
meeting,
Yeah, we
right?
don't need, I was thinking this was gonna be our master
Yeah.
plan.
This would be ours.
That would be.
Oh,
our
this
master plan.
this was always on there, so ours?
Oh.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right, sorry, so it's ours. I'm sorry, I thought of it as the town, because the person that was on it before.
From 2018?
Right,
Yeah. and it
this was from
Christine.
2018, it was Christine Brown,
Right.
so. But,
Maybe, it probably was.
so let's call it R.
Okay.
Department master plan.
Rec master plan.
Recreation.
And so that's gonna be Steve?
Yep.
Okay.
Commissioner Nelson, open space and recreation. So,
I'll take that one if you still need it.
yeah, because you like all the,
Yeah,
The
I'll do the
outdoor
Paul
sport.
Ramey stuff. You know?
so this is a big one, Overlook Park and Development Improvements.
Does that tie into the master plan then?
Kind of, yeah.
It might, yes.
So that would,
I'll do that.
We had two people
Yeah.
previously on that. So, previously it was Christine Brown and Paul Raymond.
you want to be on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Myself and Lindsay, good.
Okay. Carlson. Nelson. Planning Board, obviously, Commissioner Gaffney. Save Parks, I've been on that since the beginning. I can stay on with that. School Committee, Jeremy. Commissioner Brooks. Sculpture Park,
That is me.
Commissioner Carlson.
Okay.
And Simon's Park and Trust, I figured, Steve, you would be good for that.
I'd love to do that. Sure.
You know, you
Yeah, and that will probably encompass the playground too, as we get into that,
That's fine.
right? So, all in one, Simon's Park, the playground and the trust. Okay.
So that's all of them. Does anyone have any questions, or,
What about the rat subcommittee that you put me on when I first got on here?
Well, who isn't here tonight?
Jeremy?
Right?
Yeah, he's on the rat
Might
subcommittee.
like that. So, but if there's something on here that he, we can add a second person to some of these if it's something that he's interested. So we'll revise this list and I'll send it out. And then, if he wants to put his name in the hat in the ring for any of these, we can do that.
I have a question, Brendan.
Yeah.
If two of us on a subcommittee attend a meeting, does it have to be posted? Does that invoke the,
No, because it would have to be a majority of the, yes.
Okay.
I will double check on that, but I believe it has to be,
I think you're right.
if
Has to be
three.
a quorum.
A
A quorum.
and if two are serving and one attends just as a because they live in town or whatever, I think past practice has been they post it anyways, just because,
Yeah.
just to be safe and no one says, that they were there really as a representative of the Recreation Commission, not as a private citizen. So, I will double check on that, though.
okay. Excellent, thank you, guys. So, Brendan, we're gonna have our first public participation discussion of the first reading. That's required, so we can go over that. First reading that, let's see here. Did Commissioner Brooks, did he send out emails on any changes? I never saw anything. I know he was gonna do like a spread.
Oh, yeah, I think the problem was I couldn't access the OneDrive, because I don't have
Oh,
OneDrive, I only have Google.
Okay.
So I looked at everything, all the edits looked fine to me, but unfortunately, I don't
I
have,
didn't see anything from
yeah,
Jeremy.
I don't think,
You did?
commission-
I didn't, but.
Should we
I'm
hold
not-
this then until the
I'm
next
not-
meeting?
Yeah,
Just make sure,
because he was the one who was gonna do.
Right.
The, and I'm not the most, computer, I'll be honest, the computer stuff is not my stronghold. So I know that's why, Commissioner Brooks was gonna take a forefront on that. And probably you, Lindsay.
yeah, I mean, Steve made edits, and I think they were all the edits
Oh,
that
you
we had
did make
talked.
edits?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, are they in this one already?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
What I sent out was what I prepared and gave to, sent to everybody, I think, and then I thought Jeremy was gonna
Yeah,
take
that's
that
right
on.
too.
Yeah, and.
Let's
most-
wait for Jeremy.
Yeah.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you have a problem with that, Brendan?
I do not.
Okay, so I'll only put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Check these off. Just keep them track.
Postponed.
And then going forward, do we have any old business?
No, we do not.
We have a reason for executive session.
We do not.
So let's talk about our agenda for the next meeting, when we want to have our next meeting. What do you guys, so we're getting into the summer season. We usually have one meeting during June, July, and August, and then we kick right back up into two starting in September. Brendan,
We
what's
can
your,
meet in June, Dave?
well,
August?
we usually meet once as a commission, unless we have to come in, but Brendan wants us to come in for anything, that we have to have another meeting.
Yes, so like, June, later in June probably, and I know, Jeremy had some travel dates in there, so we should,
You want to
I
send
think
out?
I think he was good by like the 18th of June, so we can look towards the end of the month. It gets busy in our office, but extra busy with people getting in, staff training and all that stuff. But I think if we looked at, the 19th the week of the 19th is our orientation. 19th is actually a holiday, that's Juneteenth. So we'd have to do it on another day that week, or push to the last week of the month. But our
Last week of the month is orientation.
is orientation, okay. So,
So we can't do Tuesdays, because Jeremy's, is that a school committee night?
school committee,
What night do you meet?
Thursdays.
Thursdays.
First and third.
You want to do Wednesday?
we could look at Wednesday, the 21st, or Monday, the 26th.
We're meeting on planning board this Thursday, so it would be the 1st and the 15th, so you could actually do the 22nd.
Okay.
The 22nd or the 26th, you get, whatever. Well, how about you, Brendan? Which one would be, well, how about you, Steve? You
I
guys,
can do either one. I could do 21, 22, or 26.
how about, so there's nothing going on in town on the how about the 26th? That's sometimes
Aim
just
for the
easier.
26th.
Comes before all the
We'll
holidays.
do the 26th, and then the backup would be the 22nd.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Oh.
if Commissioner Brooks can make that would be good, so we can get that first reading in. So our next meeting will be June 26th at the school committee room, and if that's not available, we'll go June 22nd, and if the school committee room's available, if not, probably here. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
So made.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 400. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.